Thanks for joining me today for the webinar on the art of personal branding in the security industry. We'll get going in a few moments. We're just going to give everybody a couple of minutes to come in and take a seat, as it were. Just so you are aware, the webinar is being recorded. And also, if you'd like to submit a question, please click on the activities button at the bottom right-hand corner, and you'll be able to see the questions answers section and submit a question so we can answer it. That way you'll get the most out of this webinar. Thanks for joining me. I apologize again. We're going to be talking about personal branding today, and how or why you guys should also put pictures of yourself looking a bit of a moron like me on your your posts and things like that. So who is Redcoat Media? We're a marketing agency that's specifically for the security industry. We support all the different niches of security, from guarding, technology, SaaS companies, investigations, executive protection, literally everything in the security industry we support. I've been doing the security industry, doing sales and marketing for like the last 16 years, and it's really a core passion of mine. And I wanted to stay, when I kind of left my last position, I wanted to stay in the security industry because it's something that I really love, and I love the people in it. Today we're going to be covering personal branding, which is why you're here. Again, if you've got questions, please, ask them as we're going along. I'll be happy to answer them. If it's something that's more of a longer question, then we'll ask it at the end, or answer it at the end. So we're going to figure out, why is it important to have a personal brand, what it can do to help you, and then kind of cover how you build it, and then what you should be posting, because a lot of people, they don't always think that what they know or what they think is relevant. And to be honest, it probably is. You've got information in your head that you can put out there, and your potential customers or your audience might be interested in. So we're also going to talk about where you should be posting, or where we post as a company that might be similar to where you would be posting as a building your brand or building your company. Make sure you've got a notepad and pen ready, but I will be giving a PDF version of this out to everybody afterwards. And also I'll be putting a video, and again, a heavily edited video of this onto the YouTube channel that we've created to put these webinars on so people can see them anytime. So this is one of my favorite quotes. It's by Mr. Bezos, Mr. Amazon. And I will today, you're going to hear me say a couple of words like repeatedly, and it's perception and consistency. And those two things are the most important thing when you're creating any brand, not just a personal brand. So, if people have a perception of you that's negative, they're going to talk negatively potentially about you when you're not in the room. And this is why I like this quote, because people will be nice to your face, even if they're just lovely people, not if they're just mean people. They'll be nice to your face, but they might tell a different story when you're out of the room. And I think that's one of the things about personal branding, is that you get to create the narrative and the message that you put out into the world to control that. And we'll see that as we keep moving on. So here we go. Again, perception. It's how your industry, your friends, your colleagues, and your family view you. And each one of those kind of niches is going to have a different viewpoint. My wife obviously sees me as the godlike hero that I am to her. But my children see me as probably a mean ogre. And then my professional friends and colleagues and customers see me in a different light. So the real question is, how are you going to control that message, obviously, in your professional life? And you want to create that narrative so people see you in that specific way that you've decided. And that takes work and it takes time. I like this as well, that every business has a brand, but every person is a brand. So you've got to start looking at yourself as like a product. Even if you're a salesperson that works for a big global security company, you can still have your individual personal brand. Whether you're the CEO or a salesperson, everybody can have their own brand. And you have to sell yourself as that product. And then that will help you sell into your big employed company. And if you're an investigations company, say, and you're the person that actually does the investigations, then you can create that brand and be the face of that brand. And you'll see in the next slide that I constantly pepper myself all over my posts and on my website, everything, because I've decided, it's my company, I created the company, that I want to make sure that when I go to As Is or somewhere like that, that people see my face and go, oh yeah, that's the guy I see all the time on LinkedIn, and I actually have some marketing things I need help with. And so I'm building my personal brand, constantly and trying to massage that narrative that I know what I'm talking about. I've been in the security industry for 16 years and all, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the big things that I had to get over was embarrassment, like putting yourself out there, whether you're writing a novel or if you're just posting posts and trying to build a personal brand. You got to get over any embarrassment, because no one's going to do this for you. You can technically pay somebody like me to do it for you and help you, but other than that, your best friend's not going to do it for you on a day in, day out basis. I will say that it's a bit like going to a convention or to an association event, and if you sit in the corner and don't introduce yourself to anybody, you're not going to grow your network, you're not going to grow your business, you're not going to meet new people, and you might not be known for anything because you've been hiding, but that's bad in of itself. So personal branding is about getting out there, whether you're at an association event and you're shaking hands and kissing babies, or whether you're doing it online, which is most of what we're talking about today is digital personal branding and marketing. So get out there. You just got to start. Don't worry about what you post. Well, you have to worry about what you're posting, but if you don't post anything, that's probably worse than posting something that's not great, but working towards building your own brand. So if you think of a huge brand, you got some pictures here of these big iconic brands. These guys have been working towards their brand recognition and their company recognition and brand for years and years. I think probably Starbucks, probably the youngest one on the list. But if you look at them, they're all authentic to themselves. They don't pretend to be something they're not. They're consistent with their messaging. They're consistent with their imagery, the way they look, the way they talk, what they say. And their brands are very valuable to them. Like literally, if they couldn't have that brand anymore, the company would pretty much cease to exist. And if you look at Boeing, what happened to Boeing in the last couple of weeks with the bolts on the doors of the aircraft, literally the door fell off. They found out there was no or minimal bolts on it holding it together, and overnight they lost 9% of their stock price. So branding and that perception of how good you are and what you do is vital to building a business or building your own personal brand. And these companies are spending millions of dollars to protect their brand. Like if you look at Disney and people like that, from my Florida counterparts, they're constantly stopping people from using their intellectual property. Going back to perception, it's, you got to put yourself out there and decide what you want people to see and hear from you. If you're a CEO, or if you want to be seen as a CEO, you've got to act like one. You've got to dress like one. You've got to talk like a CEO. And the same thing goes with your branding online. You've got to speak to your target audience. So in the next couple of slides, we're going to discuss how to figure out who your target audience is, how to figure out why they would listen to you or what they should listen to you for, and what you're good at. If your target audience is property managers, say, for anybody on the call that does guarding, then you don't post about going fishing unless it's relevant to your message. You can still put things in there about your family, but try and bring it back to your message. So if you were your core audience was property managers, say, and you were going fishing, and when you got there, you realized there was a big prop building on the back, behind you, that probably has a property manager. And as a security professional, you noticed that there was no cameras on the back, or they had no fence line, but you can then talk about that. Say I had a great day fishing with my son, noticed in the background that there was a property that didn't have the right type of security. This is what I do. And then you can bring it back around to your target audience and why it would be important to them. But then you're also giving them a bit of, I'm a human being, I have a son, we like going fishing. So there's a bit of personality there as well. So I always say that building a brand is like dating. So you can't just go up to somebody the first time you meet them and say, let's get married. Now, I'm sure there's a couple of people out there that are still happily married that did that, but most times out of 1,000, that won't work. It takes a lot of time and effort, and then obviously I've got the steps here that you need to start building awareness. That's when people start to say, oh, I see this person, I see what they're doing, I see what their message means. And the step 2 is that you start to engage with them a little, and in a dating sense, that would be to flirt a little. You're not asking them out on a date yet. You've just seen them across the bar. You've bought them a drink or something. And you're just trying to get them to understand who you are, what you're about, what your values are. And then step 3, that's the same thing again, that you're consistently building up what you have to offer. And that's like dating. You're kind of interacting more, you're giving them more information, you're helping them. And that we're going to talk about helping people and not just telling them, I have a service, buy my service. This is what we can do to support you and get rid of your pain points. And then eventually, once they kind of are warm, either they will ask you for a meeting, or you, in your outreach, will keep asking them, are you ready to meet yet? Do you understand everything we do and how we can help you? So that's kind of more of the sales side. Everything is about creating that narrative of what you want them to see. So we know why it's important to brand now, hopefully. Hopefully I've given you enough information on that. But we've got to start actually building a personal brand. So the next couple of slides are going to be about a couple of steps of getting to know yourself, getting to know your customer. So if you don't know what you're good at, what you have to offer, what your value proposition is, why your potential customers should come to you, then you're not going to be able to relate to them or give them information that's important to them. So you really need to ask yourself these types of questions. After this, I'm going to be adding, a lot more questions to the PDF that I send out, so you can use it as more of a guide. But you really need to achieve clarity on what you want to accomplish. For me, it was that, I love marketing. I really enjoy that. I love helping people to build their companies. I love the sales side of it. And I wanted to bridge a gap between sales and marketing that would, in my opinion, had been there for a long time. So that was kind of my getting to know myself. And what I had to offer was, I know the industry, I know marketing, and I know branding. So I wanted to start my own company. So now, step 2 is about getting to know your audience. If you don't know what they need help with, then there's no, I don't want to say there's no point in doing what you're doing, but if you're not offering them a service they want to buy, then you're not going to make any money, obviously, and you're not going to sell yourself. So you need to know kind of what your audience needs, who they are, like where they live. And when we say where they live in a marketing sense, we mean where do they consume content. So for most of us on this call, it will probably be LinkedIn, because that's the professional website that most people should be like investing their time in to grow their own brand. You can do some stuff on Facebook and other platforms, but really LinkedIn is kind of the big one for security. You really need to know what their pain is that you can fix. So, you know, and I always go back to property managers because they're really easy. But property managers, if your service is selling, you know, Christmas bunting that has security cameras in it, you're limiting yourself to that because they probably don't need Christmas bunting that has, you know, cameras in it. So you got to find what pain they're actually having. So for guarding, it would be, you know, they're running open posts, their patrol people don't turn up on time. You've got to demonstrate that you can fix those issues. And the same with, you know, any software as a service company, any investigations, you've got to show and demonstrate to your potential customers that you know that they find it hard to find an investigator that they can trust. So you've got to show them that they can trust you and build your reputation through reviews and things like that. So moving on to step 3, which is like the brand story. And we always say you should start with the why. And there's some really good, you know, psychologists and people out there that have spoken about why starting with the why is the most important. But people communicate in a what, how, and then a why order. But most people know what they do. Most people know how they do it, but a lot of people don't know why they do it. And I'm talking about us now as security people. You know, I'm not talking about the audience that you're trying to go to. If you do investigations, you know how to do investigations, you know what it is to do it, but you don't necessarily know why you're doing it. And it might be literally that you just love that job. It might be that you love helping people, or, you know, it could just be a pure sales thing. It makes me a lot of money, I'm good at it, and that's why I do it. I wouldn't necessarily brand your personal branding that way, but that might be your true reason why. Also, like, you've got to use storytelling. So when you use storytelling, people will understand information better. They'll remember it because you've created like that story. That's how the human brain works, is through stories. And, you know, for thousands of years, we've passed down these folk stories and things like that because they're, you know, fables, they're teaching moments. And people will remember an important message through a story. So that's why you should start with your why and tell a story of why you do what you do. So for me, we saw a huge disconnect between marketing and sales teams in security companies. And again, I say security companies, I mean the security industry. And I'd spoken with several marketing people at like big security companies, and they were always looking at the high level, you know, national accounts. They were trying to win those with their marketing, but they were never doing any marketing that helped the salesperson drive local business. And so that's where we decided that it was a great way to come in and support the biggest security companies in the world down to the smallest security companies in the world, with security marketing to help them grow their business and fill that gap. So some common mistakes are like a lack of authenticity. Don't just do what you think is going to be popular. If you start messaging things just to get likes and clicks, you're not going to have a authentic long-term branding message and strategy. You've got to be true to yourself. You've got to put your own thoughts and your own personality into it, because people will, that is in of itself a differentiator, right? You've got to offer value. If you are not producing content that the people in your target audience want to hear and read and find of value, then they will move on to somebody else, or they will just forget about you. I missed out consistency there, because everything you do has to be consistent. The amount of frequency of messaging has to be consistent. I see a lot of people that post once a month or post once every 6 months. That's not going to build a brand. No, people aren't going to remember you. You've got to be posting 2 or 3 times a week minimum of something that is relatable and valued by your audience. And there's lots of things you can do. You can talk about the same thing 10 times, as long as you spread it out over, a month. But consistently keeping your brand colors the same, your text the same, your images, everything has to be in this kind of I know what I get, or I know what I'm looking at when I see this. And if you look at Nike and people like that, Nike uses a lot of black and whites. They don't always use a lot of color unless it's their product that they're trying to promote. So stick to your brand, and we're going to talk about how you create your brand in a moment. And remember, it's a two-way street. Like, simply having an account on social media and posting out is not enough. You need to be interacting with your potential audience or customer. You need to be asking them questions and talking to them constantly. This is one thing I always tell all of my customers when we're doing, say, social media support for them, when we're posting on their behalf and creating content for them. We would highly recommend staying away from these topics, or these three topics at least, unless it means something to your brand and what you do. If you're a consultant for religious organizations and that is your customer, and there are people that just do that, then yeah, that's fine. Obviously, you've got to keep it professional and it can't be outrageous or one-sided. And the same with politics. If you do executive protection for politicians, then you can promote working with politicians, but you shouldn't say, go this side or go that side. Steer clear of it. You will alienate a lot of people if you do that, unless I wouldn't do it unless it's a part of your brand and that's who you are. Trolls. And when I say trolls, I don't mean the awesome TV shows that my children make me watch every 5 minutes, but I'm talking about people who comment on your posts. There are people out there that just want to get a rise out of you, say something negative. There are lots of jealous people out there. There are competitors that will hijack your posts and either purposely try to make you not look as good as you should, or they might try and insert their own services into your post. So you've got some, and that has happened to me. I've had some people who, when I've posted about, say, marketing solutions for the security industry, I've had people go on there and literally try and promote their own brand through my post, which is a bit of a faux pas, in my opinion. It's not very professional. So you can do a couple of things. You can ask them questions, and that's what I usually do, is try and ask them what they do and how they do it to help the people in the post. And if they literally are trying to just sell their product, then I will delete the comment. And then I have, in one instance, also blocked somebody from seeing my content from then on, because I was so peeved about what they were trying to do and hijack my business and my post, basically. So step 4, moving on, how do you develop your visual identity? First impressions count, right? We know that. We've all been told it. If you walk into a meeting and you're sloppily dressed, or your hair isn't done nicely, or you're wearing a t-shirt, then that first impression is like, oh, okay, this is different. So what is a visual identity? It's the sum of everything your audience can see about you, like your brand, your logos, your photos, like your comments, literally everything. It's that perception of who you are and what you do. And you have the ability to control that. A lot of people on this call might not have a logo. You might just be somebody who's trying to develop your personal brand. So you don't necessarily need a logo. It's your name is your logo, as it were. But like I've said earlier, with my handsome face being on LinkedIn all the time, people need to see the consistency. And so I have my logo, I have my face, I have my text and my colors and the way I deploy them. So I'm trying to build up consistency in everything I do. So when somebody scrolls past it, they know that it's me, whether they like it or not. And again, I felt very silly when I was putting my face on the internet for the first month or so, until I started getting positive messages about it and positive results from it, that my branding was working. And that's why I was like, no, I need to take some more photos and do silly, YouTube ones where I'm pointing and giving people an emotion from my face, because we're very visual beings. So if people see something that's like slightly shocking, it might make them stop and look at what I'm talking about. So your color palette's important. I chose red and black and white, some grays for mine, because different colors invoke different feelings and messages. Like red invokes passion and excitement, black invokes sophistication and elegance, and then white is like truth and indifference. So I wanted people to see my brand, and to be honest, I just like these colors as well, so that's what it works for me. If I like it, then other people might like it. Obviously my company is called Redcoat Media, so there's like a play on the fact that I'm originally from England, and that Redcoat is a kind of a synonymous thing here in the US, possibly negative, but I'm playing on that because that's part of my identity. So keep it simple with your colors. Like I wouldn't do any more than 4 or 5 colors in your color palette. If you want to like support with color palettes, there's loads of places online. I'm going to talk a lot about Canva. If you've ever heard of Canva, it's a free marketing / design online system. It has a paid option, which I would recommend. It's only like $14 a month. It has a color palette creator. So you can literally like put the color that you really like. So for me, say it'll be red, and then it will help you understand what colors go with that. And as you add more colors to it, it helps you narrow down to your 4 or 5 basic colors that all work together. And then your image style and font. Your font can say a lot about you. It's if you look at a Burberry font, that the way they have that font, or any of these big brands that are, say, retail brands, they will have like the font looks like luxury, and so you can use different fonts to send different messages. I would steer clear of any like script font, the swirly ones, because they're hard to read and people ultimately are lazy. Again, Canva has like font combinations that can help you how to figure out what fonts are best for you. Google has lots of free fonts. There's loads of places. If you've got questions on this, you can DM me and ask me some specific questions. I'll do what I can to help offline. And then image style, like try and brand your images the same. Like, so for some of my customers, I will use some stock images in posts. I hate stock images generally when it comes to websites, but stock images for posts are more reasonable. I will make sure that they are filtered in a way that's specific to the brand, that works for the brand. Like if their colors are a red, I might give it a red haze. Or if their colors are yellow, I'll give it a yellow haze potentially, and maybe a black and white so the words stick out. So just play around with it, and if you like it, most likely somebody else will. You can create what's called a brand style guide, which generally, like these big companies have like 30-page brand style guides where you have to have the logo has to be so many inches away from any other words and things like that. You don't necessarily need one, but I would say it's ideal to set one up. I've done mine through Canva, so I don't necessarily have a document, but I would say set up your brand style guide in, say, Canva. So then you're always using the same fonts, you're always using the same colors, and just the same kind of image filters and things. So now you've got to start building your online presence. Hopefully by now, if you're working through this, on your day off or something, and you're literally sitting down saying, these are the fonts I want, and you're creating that, at some point, you've actually got to start using it and doing something with it. And you've got to actually start talking to your target audience. So most people don't have a website, say, if we're talking about personal branding. We're going to talk about LinkedIn mainly, but everything we talk about here can be, related to your personal brand, whether it's a website or what have you. So remember, in everything you do, you've only got like 10 seconds to make an impression, and that's with posts. That is with your profile on LinkedIn, your website, everything. You get that first impression, and you've got to make it count. Everything you do relevant to your message and how you're going to help your target audience. You don't talk about yourself like, I've been in the industry for 16 years. Okay, so what? That doesn't necessarily, it means something, but really, again, people want to know as fast as possible, what are you going to do for me? How are you going to save me time? How are you going to take this pain off my, off my chest, whatever. And you've got to have like ways for them to see that you know what you're doing, and a way for them to contact you, which is like what a call to action is. Basically, a call to action is like the next step in, like, you've read my message, now click on this to arrange a meeting, or click on this to to register for the webinar, whatever. So optimizing your LinkedIn profile, like if you're, say, doing all this messaging and you're posting and you're people are like, wow, I really love what this guy's saying, I really like the message, yeah, let's go. And then they click on your profile and they see this. Like, the message they're getting from it is that, well, they're not really getting any message, to be honest, other than that you're not probably taking what you're doing seriously. So I'm just going to flick through some of these quickly. Everything you do should be optimized to tell people exactly what you're going to do for them, not what not your own services, what you're going to do to fix their problem. So this is a guy who I follow. I follow lots of, obviously, marketing people, and he's one of the best guys. He happens to be from England. But everything he does is, like, his page is set up for you to know exactly what he does, how he's going to help you, and then easy ways for you to talk to him and get his help. He's got clear messaging, so he tells you, obviously this looks slick as anything. He has the call to actions, go to my featured section to book a call. He's telling you to do it. He's got a book a call appointment at the bottom here. I'm sure if you clicked more, you could go to his website. Like, everything, he has keywords in his lines, and keywords are like, if you were searching on Google and you wanted to know about, like, how to bake bread, say, you would type in, how do I bake bread? The keywords are like baking bread, say, or how to bake bread. So he's putting in here like all of his different keywords. He tells you exactly what he's doing. He does personal branding. He does LinkedIn profile optimization. He works with senior leaders to increase their brands and things like that. And then some of the services he provides. And then if you move further down his page, we all scroll a little bit if we're seeing what we like. He has used his featured section as another banner, and this takes time to set up, but you can do it. So he's got his Calendarly, like, book an appointment here. So when you click on that, like you did with this call, you went straight to a Calendarly event page, and you then registered for it by putting in your details. So he'll be capturing potential customers' details, and then he's also got this here, which is kind of like his free content that you can go to and read and learn about how to do what he's saying by yourself. But it's ultimately to capture your details, your phone number, email, and things like that. So then he can message you and try and sell you to use his service. And as a brand, that's what the ultimate goal is to generally sell yourself to somebody, whether it's that you're trying to get a better job, or whether it's you're trying to sell yourself as you're a salesperson in a security company, or if you own the security company. All this is optimized. So his is obviously just a slick, everything's branded the same colors, it's got the same fonts, it's just beautiful. So yeah, and then he posts regularly. He literally posts a couple of times a day, at least, from what I can tell. And that consistency means that I see his posts all the time. And my perception is this guy knows what he's doing. Whether that's right or wrong, that's the perception. He looks like he knows what he's doing. I see him all the time. So something must be working for him in what he's doing. And so I would be more inclined to use him than somebody I've never seen before. Again, go back to the dating analogy. Marketing is not selling, it's building awareness. So all you're doing with building your brand is building awareness for when people are ready to then buy from you and encourage them to buy from you. So his about section, if you look at his about section, it doesn't talk about him, like, you know, I've been in the industry for 16 years. I've been helping support these, blah, blah, blah. You know, I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets. None of that. This is exactly what you're going to get when you use us. These are all the issues we're going to fix for you. And his is quite long, so I didn't put it on there, but he's got different messages on there to show people how he's helping them. And then his experience. And that's really all he talks about is his experience. And that's it. So once you've done that, you can start posting content. And again, going back to why we're posting, it's the analogy of the association luncheon. If people are not seeing you and you're not reaching out to them, you're not saying hello to them, they don't constantly see a message from you, they won't be aware of you, and then they're not going to buy from you. So it also allows you to demonstrate your knowledge. It allows you to show that you're a leader in that space. Again, you are creating that perception of what you do. It's all in your hands. And then you get to demonstrate your value and what you can do to help them, so they'll be more inclined to buy from you or hire you as an employee, if that's your goal. So the types of content you can do, and this is where we're trying to get into the nitty gritty of, you know, what should you post? That's always one of the hard things that people I just don't know what to post. And I've been there. You know, you can do connection posts that draws people in to, you know, it shows them that you can help them on a more personal level. Like that's typically in the form of like relatable personal stories. But then again, linking it back to what you do and how you do it. You can tell stories, success stories and things like that. And that would be under your credibility is, you know, you're positioning yourself as an authority in what you do. So you have to show or tell people and show people of the successes you've had. So you could post something that says, you know, my customer in Dallas had a problem with blah, blah, blah. We came in, we did this, X, Y, and Z, and now all those problems have disappeared. You're showing other people that you can do what you say you can do. And that's like gold. And if you're a salesperson, say, you can basically use past sales and solutions you've provided for your customers to help you in that way. You don't have to have your own business to do these things. And then change content, that's about getting people to think differently, thinking of new ways that they can do things or make an impact with their audience. And again, that goes down to research, finding what really your audience need help with, and then speaking to that and saying, it could be that they've always used guarding company 24/7. A change post would talk about using monitoring to lower their budget, as well as guarding, you know, and blending those hybrid services, something like that. Adverts, I see this a lot in the guarding industry. All they post is unarmed guarding, executive protection, armed guards, like they just tell the services that they're doing. That has some place, but how are you making your potential customers that need those understand that it fits with what they need? Like their pain is going to be fixed. So I would say don't do many adverts. Talk about how you're fixing their problems and do an advert post maybe 1 in 8 or something like that. Unfortunately, I see it like the other way around. Most people just do advert posts because they're easy. So when you're creating your posts, have a plan. Don't just, you know, to make it less stressful, I always create a calendar, like a post calendar. You can use Excel, you can use anything, and you'll see, you know, it says use AI at the bottom. You can get AI to help you with these things. If you give it enough information and talk about what you want to achieve, it will help you create a post content calendar, which you can then edit and make, you know, you can have the date that you're posting on one side, the topic of the post, and then the message of the post in another column. And if you want to post, say, 2 times a week, create 10 different messages in bulk. Like, don't just do one message at a time, unless it's something that's a spare of the moment thing, like you saw something, you took a picture of it, you want to post it. But if you're planning out your strategy of all the messaging you want to get out to your potential audience and why it's important for them to see it, plan it out, and then you can go into something like Canva or Buffer, and you can post all 10 posts that you've created at the same time, and then just do auto schedule on the times that you want, and then walk away for 2 weeks. I wouldn't necessarily walk away for 2 weeks, because you still want to be commenting and liking and talking to people 20 minutes a day on LinkedIn. You need to be engaging with people and not selling them, but just asking questions, congratulating them on their success, things like that. Because then you're creating a community, and you're creating that brand identity that you're, a person who knows what he's talking about, knows how to help people, is not just doing this, to sell something. We did have a question a little while ago. What's the value of reposting versus original content? And I'll get onto that we're kind of in that area now. These are some of the posts that are like post ideas you can do, and we're not going to read them all out now, but they will be in the PDF where you get to, these are just ideas of what you can be posting, like customer testimonials, things like that. Going back to that, like reposting, I think it's on the next slide, but I'll talk about it now. The value of reposting versus original content. You want to do way more original content, because that's where it's your brand you're putting out there. It's your personal values, all those things. When you're resharing something, you're really sharing somebody else's brand, not your own. Now, like, I will share stuff because I want to help some of my friends who are growing their own brand. And if I think it's relevant to my audience, then I will share it. But if it was like little Timmy did a bake sale this weekend, unless it's a bake sale for like a property management company or security, like something in the security industry, then I probably won't share it on my LinkedIn because it's not relevant to my audience. So reposting really just shares other people's brands. Do it if it contributes to your brand. Hopefully that answered the question. So anyway, so these are some ideas and ways of getting people to click or read your content. Like the fear of missing out, everybody kind of knows what that is. It's like you could say winter is coming. Is your property security ready for the weather? Like, you're giving them a time limit of, if you don't fix something now, you might be in a world of trouble on the back end, and you're going to, it might cost you more money. It might be more of a burden, especially say in the holidays when you don't want to be on site doing something, you want to be at home with your family. How-tos are my favorite. They're helpful, 7 ways to do this, 5 ways to, find an investigations company, whatever it is. They're engaging, they're educational to your audience, and so they're more likely to read it and get something out of it. Again, this is a long-term process. It doesn't mean they're going to buy from you. They're just seeing your brand, and the perception is you're helpful, and the perception is you know what you're talking about. And then questions are always a good one. You can do polls or just ask questions randomly, like, what's the best way to be found to stop crime that you've found to stop crime in, say, downtown Los Angeles or downtown environment? And then people will give you information, and that could help you then write more posts. If you're people and conversing with them, then they might say something that you never thought of. And then you might think, well, if they're having that problem, I can post about how I can help solve that problem. So we're kind of wrapping it up now, and I've gone way over my time, so I apologize. Only do, advert posts sparingly, so don't do them unless you really have to. Going back to the question a minute ago, don't only share other people's posts. Again, because it's sharing their values, their content, and not necessarily yours. And you want to be seen as a thought leader who knows what he's talking or she's talking about. Don't get too comfortable with your comments. Be professional. Don't. You can be funny. Humor's brilliant in sales and marketing. I like to think I'm a humorous person, and I find that helps me to engage with people. But don't get too comfortable in comments, because the internet's forever at the end of the day. And I forgot spell check. I am a terrible speller. Always have been. Thank God we have computers now that help me. But check your spelling constantly. You can use Grammarly and other ways to do it. But if you have a poor spelling in something, then people might call you out on it. It might make you look silly. So just always double check. And then spread your net wide. And what I mean by that is, if your target audience was people in Kansas that own cats and have a letter T in their name, it's so specific that you're not casting your net wide enough. Like you might, I've got a customer right now who created a product, and they realized quite early on that the product, their audience they were trying to sell to, while was a valid audience, a different subset of the community actually wanted their product. And so they switch gears, because if these people are buying, but they're only buying, 2 items a week, but these people are buying 15 items a week, switch your messaging and spread your net wider, and you can encompass both. And that goes back to adaptability, just being adaptable to your environment. Do give respect, treat people with respect, be positive on their posts. If you see something that you don't agree with, you can call it out, but be respectful about it. Show your appreciation for what they're doing for the industry. That will build you karma, whatever you want to call it, and people will see that. Always be curious and listen, because like we've said, you'll learn something if you listen that you might not have known. Keep your promises. Like if you say you're going to do a webinar, do it. If you say you're going to give somebody a proposal, make sure you do it. Show your effort. Show that your professional values are a high caliber, because people will respect that. And then ask how you can help. Like at the end of this, I'm obviously going to ask whoever's left on the call to send in anything that they want to learn more about, so I can do more of these things and teach people more about the industry so they can help themselves. So where do I put? Where is your audience? Like I post on LinkedIn, I post on Instagram, Facebook, and then Google Business Profile, because Google's trying to kind of make Google Business Profile into like the new Facebook in a way, but for businesses. So I'm trying to jump on that bandwagon now, and I've still got work to do on that. Most of my other LinkedIn my other platforms are more optimized. There's always something new you can do and something you can change. I personally have to do a little bit of updating and more optimization, because it doesn't end. But know where your audience lives, like we said earlier. Know where they are consuming content, and then you can talk to them there. If you're just speaking to people on Reddit and you've got no customers on Reddit, then why are you doing it? Like, unless it brings you value. Like one of my friends who is in the more of the technology alarm consulting space, he gets jobs off of Reddit just by offering help and offering support. And then people say, hey, is there, how much would it be for you to do it? And then he says, and he closes deals on Reddit of all places, and even Facebook. So be open-minded to where your audience will be and do the research to find it. And then obviously you can promote yourself in other ways through conversations in person. Everything we've spoken about today is really online digital marketing, but your association events, everything you do is a personal brand, whether it's you just standing there in a suit and talking to people, or taking photos of yourself pointing and looking like a silly boy or girl. Show your support for people, help people. That's literally, if you just help people constantly, up until a point where you should start billing them for something, they will pass that message on to others. You'll build your brand of being a helpful, knowledgeable person. Canva, we've discussed. I'm going quite fast now because I'm sapping up everybody's time. Canva, use Canva if you want to. I have no affiliation other than that I use it. I'm not a board member or an investor. But it really is so good. There's so many, YouTube videos on how to use Canva. They've just released loads of AI design tools. When you see my face on any of my posts, I use Canva to remove the background. It's like one click. I'd say 99.9% of the time doesn't remove anything that I didn't want it to remove. Like you can set up your brand kit. It's an easy to use platform, so use it. You can even use it to post ahead on a calendar. I don't know if that's on the free version, but for like $14 or $15 a month, it's worth it if you're going to be posting 2 or 3 times a week, which you should be. So when should you start? This is one of my favorite quotes. It's best to, the best time to plant a tree was 40 years ago. The second time is today. So just start. Even if you're starting posting once a week, just start doing it. Start commenting, even if it's random comments on random people's posts. Like you see somebody in your feed and you say they were doing a training class on security, for security officers. Just post, great to see that you're improving the security industry's training, and then you could even say, we have a lot of problems with the lack of training in the industry, and you can add a bit of something to it. We use, and this is a bit of a sales pitch now, we have a tool that we use a lot, and we have customers that use. It's called Redcoat Prospect. It is basically an automated system that helps you get new connections on LinkedIn. It helps drive meetings on LinkedIn. It helps drive conversation on LinkedIn. It saves you hours of work of like clicking connect on people. You have to have a Navigator core account. Basically, we run a search in the Navigator account. We import that search into the system, and then whoever your target audience is, it will start inviting like 25 people a day. LinkedIn has basically, you can only invite so many people per day and before you like get flagged. So it invites 25 people a day to be a connection. It then automatically tries to talk to them and get them to do whatever you want them to do. So it could be get a meeting, it could be to look at your website, it could be anything. And it's really good because it saves you a lot of time and energy, so you can then concentrate on doing your actual work and your actual like operations or what have you. So if you're interested in talking about that, let me know. We can have a 15-30 minute chat about it and show you what it does. Too long didn't read summary. Ask yourself all these questions. Find out why you're doing it and what you can do to help people. Know your audience and what they need help with. Create your brand and your story and your message, and then just start posting. Just do it. So after this, I'm going to send a PDF document with all the slides on it. I'm going to add a load of more questions so you can use it as a guide and use it as a way of going through and creating your personal brand. If you need help, feel free to email me or go on my website and book a 15-minute meeting. Just tell me in the notes why you want the meeting. And then if there's anything that you guys want me to talk about in another webinar, you might be fed up of me already, but if there's anything that you are interested in learning about, that could be email marketing, pay-per-click. It could be designing, marketing materials, literally anything that you want help with, let me know. If you want to dive deeper into knowing your audience or how to do a strategy session on your own marketing for your business, let me know and I can do another call like this, hopefully with less hiccups at the beginning. And if that's it, if no one's got any questions, thank you very much for your time. I truly appreciate it. Redcoat's here for any support you need, and we'll see you next time.